So here it is. So fully built from the ground up. Legend Sam, who did it. Can't thank him enough. But yeah, this thing, windscreen's been out, everything has been taken apart. It's yeah, quite unbelievable. For an AU, like no one really does this for an AU. So he's gone over it unbelievably. Like, it's just crazy to me. You know, there's things like, of course, if you want to be picky and be a flog, you can do it. But for something that's within his own time, he's not getting paid for this shit. He's done it. He and then decided to sell it, unfortunately, and then I'm the lucky man to actually enjoy his work. So yeah, this thing is amazing, to the wheels, to the front bar, and these things, if you know about panel beating and things, you know how hard these are to paint due to the angles. And this is straight off the gun, by the way. This is not even buff polish, like it's straight off the gun. All it's done is just had a hand waxing and that's it. It is unbelievable. It could be better than this. So I intend to eventually get it like ceramic coated. I think it deserves it to be ceramic coated. But it's just unbelievable to think that in 2002 that these were looked at as revolting and things. And I was one of those people. I used to call them the egg on wheels until probably 2018. It almost was a bit of a joke, the AU. And then for some reason, the joke became a reality. And then you go, fuck man, these are actually cool. Like the quad headlights, the actual shape of it, like especially in a ute, I think they look better in a ute. But I'll just show you around the back. But the real party piece is really underneath the car. So as you can see, basically the whole car has been stripped to bare metal. This is at work underneath, so then it's been coated. Rust prevention has been put on. So it's just an unbelievable, meticulous job. No oil leaks. That's the cleanest T5 gearbox I've ever seen in my life. Bear in mind, this is after it rained, unfortunately. So yeah, as I said, new exhaust, original aluminium tail shaft, obviously control arms, brakes, brake rotors, upper ball joints, lower ball joints, all new. And there's the rear, so pretty amazing. In terms of like the tailgate, when I first saw this car, I'm like, you know, you see pictures and you be like, oh yeah, he's rebuilt it from the ground up and wonderful and this and this and this, and you go in and you're expecting to be disappointed. And it's only a normal thing, because you go, if you go in and go, it could be shit. Luckily, I didn't have to drive that far. It was about an hour or so's drive down near Geelong, and iconic, quite really, in Geelong, where originally a lot of Ford was made. But and then I cast my eyes on it, and I'm like, shit, I'm going to have to fucking buy this thing, haven't I? You know, beautiful, like down to the door trims and like, and even just the the attention to detail, within this region here, and so this is where apparently where the rust was as well, and like the only where in the seat is just here. Then an original 190,000 kilometre car as well. So it was kind of, for me, it was crazy to the point where, like all my AUs before, had about 300. My first AU, which was which was really the pinnacle of garbageness, which was a dedicated gas forte, you know. So this is the car in question. Probably giving it a bit of a bad rap. It was a nice car for what it was, but definitely a bit of a step down from what I've eventually got used to. But dedicated gas did the job that it needed to as a little daily driver for a couple of years. So that was like really the pinnacle of like bootiness. So I then I went from that to an XR6 VCT. So funny story, this car, bought it for $1,200 as a trade-in, as I know the sales manager of BMW in Doncaster. So this is how I originally got it. Then I decided to restore it. Thankfully my dad had a panel shop at the time, so as an apprentice it was pretty cool to do all this. This is the car that I unfortunately had a lot of emotion selling. In hindsight, for what I got for it and for what I put into it, it wasn't worth the $5,000 I originally got for it. Now I probably sell it's probably 12 and a half, but that's cars, that is what it is. But I put a lot of work into this car. A very lovely car by the end of it. I'm very proud of it. Wasn't perfect, even after the restoration, but it was a good car. With about just a bit over 200,000 k's when I got it. But that was a bit rough when I got it, but it was still a nice car at the end of the day. Went and got a 2002, it was a Series 3 220 XR8, and that was, like one of the best XR8s in the country. I still say that to this day. So this is the XR8 sedan in question. This is the one that got away. This was my biggest mistake of my years of car buying and selling and things. Unfortunately, you get dragged into silliness and modern vehicles and things anyway. So this one here was owned by a fantastic bloke in Canberra, which I went to go get from Canberra from him. He manually converted it. I had it for a couple of years. I only did about 2,000 k's, had it basically wrapped up in a shed. I only put the Rebel wheels on it, which I touched on later in this video. That's me with it. And the biggest achievement was coming runners-up at all Ford Day with it. I wish I still had that car next to this ute. I think this has to be above that. This has a couple of extras which I always kind of wanted. So it's got the Tickford plaque, so it's got the handbuilt motor here. It's got an original manual car where my XR8 sedan wasn't. That was converted to a manual a bit later on, but that didn't really worry me too much, honestly. But knowingly, like in the future value of it, that would always be the one that would hold it back. But with this one, you cannot at all take away from this car. Even the wheels, and if you look like just at that side view profile with it is just completely unbelievable. I tend to drive it, honestly, and drive it every day, but I've also got my other ute as well. And still to this day, my most important car, this one here. So found this one in Pickles Auctions, actually in Kyabram, with a hit in the front, of course, from what you can see with your own eyes in front of you. And then, as I said before, lucky enough that my father owned a panel shop at the time, and that was probably one of the best times of my life. When I was having a few medical issues there, so that was me getting my learners. This was a really good escape for me, and it basically taught me a lot about cars, and that was the XD there, or XE, the AU that we were wrecking at the time. So that's it in front of the panel shop there. And then eventually also, that's me at the start of this year. So I've had that for nearly 10 years now, so it's basically a part of me, something I'll never get rid of. Might as well just bury me in it, and that's with the new XR8. And just the terms of like the steadiness of the man who built it. You know, there was things that, like, when he told me, I'm like going, damn. I go, like even like they're never on there. So like things like even like the windscreen. This was an originally Australian made windscreen. I don't think it's the original one, but it's a high quality Australian one, which where you can't get them anymore. So he actually took the time to physically take the windscreen out and not break it, and then proceeded to actually glass polish it and then refit it without breaking it again, and then reseal it, and it doesn't even leak, which is ridiculous, to say the least. Ridiculous. But yeah, just in this light, just looks absolutely unreal. Like an original front bar pods as well, so they got the Tickford stamp on them too, which is crazy. I knew that there were not many shortcuts were taken with this car, or there were no shortcuts taken with this car, because by its tyres. And when look, if you're going to put Winrons on a car, or you're going to put like you know, Ovations on a car, like, you're cheaping out, you know, like, and that's okay. That is what it is. But if you're going to put, you know, your Michelins or your Continentals, which this has on it, you know, Continentals, you care about the car, you know that. So even to see that, I was like, yeah, that is pretty damn cool. This is what it's like to basically buy a brand new AU Falcon in 2026. But like, even non-car people, like, they have a weird bond to their car, you know, and you can't put your finger on why a car, a human in a way, you know, like, why is it, like, why some days does that issue happen and then the other day it doesn't? You know, you and I wake up with a sore back for no reason, because we're human. Cars start one day and don't make a rattle in the world, and then you'll then start up 2 days later, and then there's a new rattle, or that old rattle that you thought went away 3 months ago has come back, or that issue that you thought that you fixed came back. It is so human-like, and I think that's why that we fall in love with them, and sometimes we hate them, because they're imperfect. And Jeremy Clarkson said it, and that's why I'm saying that so much. But car was very big for me, because I sold cars that I shouldn't have sold. I try to bite off too much more than I can chew. With so I bought a Mustang, you know, financed. So here is the Mustang in question. Had the bronze package, 6-speed manual, Magna Ride suspension. Lovely car, but just wasn't worth it at the end of the day, and lacked the soul that some of the Falcons I've owned have. Too much money financing it, you know. And learn from me, it's $94,000 car. I put 20 to 30 grand down by memory. Still was paying 7 years over $1,000 a month. And then, you know, things change in my life as they do. Things can change quickly. And something that you thought was, you know, you could afford and was feasible was no longer. So then, you know, you had to get out of it quickly. I then had to sell it for $68,000 with 10,000 Ks a year later. Bear in mind, I lost my license for 6 months as well when I got it, and that was the reason why. And I So I couldn't even enjoy it. So I was paying for a car I couldn't even drive for 6 months. Like how humbling is that? Like, don't get me wrong, very nice car, lovely car, but it set me back and go, well, what do I actually really, really like? I said, you know, the Mustang was almost as an ego thing, and, you know, look at me type factor. With this, I don't feel that. I genuinely like it because of me, and I may have, and this may be quite a lot of money for an AU, but I like an AU, and I don't care. I like an AU. You know, I like Falcons. Are they the best car I've made? No. They just hold a connection with me from when I was a kid. You know, and the same with Holden, if you're a Holden man or a Ford man, or there's certain things that, you know, for people that are more on the neurodivergent sector of things like myself, with ADHD and other wonderful, fantastic things, yeah, sometimes you just get hyperfixated on a certain car and certain things. Yeah, and I'm just so thankful to be back in an AU, because, you know, when I sold my XR8, my old XR8, you know, you think you can't find another car like that, and when this came up, you know, I was like, you know, shit, it's out of a price. I don't know what I'm going to do, and then, you know, thankfully, you know, some things were pulled, and I'm very thankful for that. That I was able to get back into this. Unbelievable cars, what they can do. And for instance, and talking about the ex-owner, you know, he spent 4 years. So he bought it, probably didn't even drive it, and spent 4 years because, and he had the expertise, he was a panel beater and a spray painter, but he spent 4 years, and for what? He's never going to see that money back, but for what? But he did it. And that's what you respect most about cars, because if you're into cars and you think that, and that was an issue that I originally had, I would hoard them, and I'd think, oh, if I hold them on for a bit longer and this and this and this, that they'll be worth something. No, really, like if you add up, you know, insurance over X amount of years and rego, and then you go, and then replacement of parts and other depreciating things, that you're not winning. You know, you buy, let's say, buy a car for, you know, close to 30,000, and then you sell it, what, in 10 years time for 40. But remember the 10 years, that's $1,000 rego, and then probably then plus insurance and that. So you're still losing, you know, but who cares? Everything is consumable these days. If you're worried about anything that you do that's gonna, you know, of course, but then there's limits to it. So I was like, the Mustang's going to make me happy, yada, 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 yada. But then it broke me financially. And that was even worse than the first 2 weeks of owning it. Because trust me, when you buy a car, after the first 2 weeks, no one gives a shit, honestly. And then you stop giving a shit, you know. It really, really does. You know, and the Mustang was a flog factor thing. It was. You go, you know, you're 22 and you bought this $90,000 car. You just take photos of it, and then you know, pull up and you go on a few dates with it, and, you know, girls think you're a superstar. But is that you? Not really. Persona, yeah, possibly, but, you know, the best thing about this is that if you know that this is special, you go, that people will respect and go, you know, fantastic, you know. But if you don't know, you just think it's a regular Falcon Ute and you can just go about your day, and who gives a shit? The best part about, you know, Holden and Fords, that if you know, you see a GT, also Ford were a bit more understated. Holdens, when you saw like HSV, like especially the VY and VZ, you like turn a corner and you see all this shit hanging off it and be like, you know, oh my, like, you know, that's surely something a bit special. Even if you're not a car person. But Ford, you more look at it, I mean, the GT R spec was probably the most, but they still look taxi-ish. Like they still, you know, looked a bit, I mean, I think I think these AUs, they didn't actually, like if you talk about these XRs, I don't think they looked very taxi-ish, if you get me. Yeah, a bit different like that, the Tickford, yeah, so you'd fool a few people, but again, you wouldn't think that it would be special in a way, but that's that. I've said every car that I've bought, I've said I'm going to keep it forever, but then, you know, it's also good to know that, you know, if there is a time that needs to come to sell it or this and that you're willing to do so, because you can't hold your life on a car. You know, if I was going to go homeless or Patrick sell the car, you need to sell the car. It doesn't matter how much you love it, and you know, you make jokes about, oh, you can live in a car, but you can't drive a house, but that's not fucking reality. So yeah, knowing and learning that was very hard for me as well, because I got attached to every single car. It's like, you know, I grew up watching Herbie in cars, and you know, you think that, you know, and I'd talk to my cars. I was an only child. I'd talk to them when I was a kid, and you know, I still talk to them now. Like I'm like, who's a good AU? Like all that type of shit. But you know, I go, sometimes you need to have that little bit of just slight detachment, knowingly reality that they aren't actually real. They're not going to feel you selling them, even though deep down you think that they are, which is what I like to still think that they do. It's like, oh, why are you selling me for, man? Like, it's bullshit. I like you as an owner. That's how I think of it. But you still need to have that slight bit of detachment that, you know, you go, I need to sell it. Life goes on. And you'll get back in another one. Maybe even a better one. You know, it's like when you have a break up with a girlfriend and then you think that she's the only one in the world, and then you think, ah, shit, you know, like, I've lost my chance. I'm never going to find love again. And then something comes up, something happens, you go out somewhere that you're least expecting it, and wowee, hello, you met another wonderful person, and then the history repeats itself. Or you keep that when one person, that's when things are meant to be, and that's why sometimes you're not meant to really control things. You just let things roll. I let things roll. This came along. Anywho, I'm waffling. Take care.